This is the CiMPLE Journey, how someone with no experience gets to simple, and now we are talking about applications, specifically banking, and more specifically Aave. In the future, CiMPLE could easily use other banking applications like Compound, Maker, Liquidity. There's a number of these little banking applications, but the big thing that you have to think about is that they work on this principle, if this then that, right? So for example, if you have $100,000 worth of Ethereum, then you could borrow 80,000 DAI, right? As the maximum amount that they'll let you buy. You could borrow any amount, right? And so it has a series of rules that allow it to operate. And these rules are not changeable, right? Because of this mechanism that we discussed earlier, right? And this mechanism, Ethereum is using this. Currently, it's being used by this on Polygon already. Let's get into banking. Typically, if you go to a Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, Citibank, any of these banks, right? They have minimums. There is no minimums in Aave, right? So going back to that, if this then that, there was no rule that was set up that said if the balance is below blank, don't let them open an account, right? So there are no minimums. You cannot do an overdraft, right? So when it's doing it's if this then that, it's just not possible for you to do an overdraft. The fees for Aave are really low for anything. Like, it's basically negligible. There's interest to borrow, right? Like that's separate, and we'll get into that. User data leaks, right? You don't give Aave any of your data. There's nothing to leak. That's not possible, right? Now, everything occurs on the blockchain, and they could look at your public key, a 64-digit code, and say this 64-digit code did these things, but it's also in a sea of other identifier codes did all of these other things, right? But you're anonymous. Like, they don't know that that's you. There's nothing tying it to you, right? You want to go to the bank, you have to work on their hours. Aave it's open 24/7. It exists on the web, can't change it. You want to go in on the weekends? Nope, banks don't let you. Again, 24/7, 365. You have full control of your funds, right? So if you want to do a bank transfer through ACH, you're looking at 3 to 5 days. You could do a wire that's 24 hours. International wires is sometimes longer than that. You can do some same-day wires if you get in early enough in the day, or if you live in the East Coast, you got that like extra 3-hour window. But either way, Aave is instant. As soon as the transaction records, like we talked about, you have to bid the right price in order for it to go through, which right now prices are low, but sometimes they're higher and you got to wait. So once that's accounted for, then it's instant. The banks want to check your credit, want to check your history, want to check all that stuff. There is no credit checks. Right? Do you have the assets? Yes. If this, then that. If you have the assets, then approve the loan. That's it. There's no credit checks, no nothing, right? Loan closing costs. If you refinance your house, it could take 60 days. It could cost you thousands of dollars in points and upfront cost. You got to get an appraisal and you got to do all these things. Nope. No closing costs, no nothing. It's right there. If you want to know how banks operate so that you can position yourself the best that you possibly can within the banking system, right? Can't do that, right? They don't have transparency. You talk to people and they don't really know what's going on, and person A tells you a different story than person B. Aave is fully transparent. It's on the blockchain. It's out there. It exists. It's fully transparent. Anybody can read it. Now, you may not know how to read code, right? But the fact that other people who can read code can then publish their findings, right, will tell you that the fact that they're transparent is valuable to those people who can see it, and it's valuable to you because those people exist, and those people would be raising red flags if there was massive problems. Let's say you want to go to these banks and you want to deposit. Well, good luck getting more than 0.25% interest. And using Aave, and you'll see using simple strategy number 2, that you can maximize your yield and get over 20% net APY for periods of time. Quite frankly, I have been over 25% for a long time. And so we're talking 100 times more interest in that case. Using strategy number 2, these banks can just freeze your accounts, right? Like, you can't do that. When you look for the if this then that, there is no if the user does X, then freeze their account. That cannot occur. The code exists, the code cannot change, right? They could do an additional version of Aave, and if you choose to interact with that new version of Aave, then it could do some sort of rules like that. But as it stands right now, there is no rules that I'm aware of that actually limits or freezes people or does anything, right? And the last item to cover on here is disparate treatment. If you are like JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs or what, these top tier banks, then you're gonna get a different treatment from them if you are a high net worth investor versus the small guy, right? And it makes sense, right? Like, they're trying to make as much money as they can, so they're going to kiss the ass of the guys who have the most money. But that's at the detriment of everybody else. Aave is rules without rulers. There is no ruler. There is no somebody to choose who gets better terms and who gets worse terms. There is nothing like that. It is just, it's open and it's for everybody. And because this exists, we're able to leverage the tokens that we have, and we're able to borrow other tokens against that. That brings us back full circle to part of this journey, that Aave is a very important tool that we use. There are other tools. We're going to get into Instant App in the next video. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and then please comment below to let us know if there's anything that we could be doing better in this video to help you understand it, so that when we make a future video that's better, it pre-addresses those issues. Thank you and enjoy.